point out that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land, so lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 524th edition of Energy Week with George Harvey, and that's me, and the amazing Tom Fennell.
In the flesh.
In the flesh.
But not in the studio.
On the phone.
Right.
Okay, Tom is getting old. I'm getting old. Everybody's getting old. So, that's the way life is, I guess. Okay.
It happens.
Today is the 25th of May, and we are starting the show with news from Thursday, May 18th.
That's according to my notes.
Yep, and the information that we have here is all from articles that have been posted with links to them at geoharvey.com, geoharvey.com. Also, the actual list that's used, because at geoharvey.com, if you go click on a date on the calendar, you're going to have 15 items come up, usually, sometimes 11 or something like that, but usually 15.
We generally utilize 3.
Yeah, we only use 3 of them, and the show is made up of stuff that is posted online at a site that I maintain so Tom and I can work on it, and that is given below on your computer screen if you're looking at a computer. The other thing is that a file from that is created, and you can download that. So we're going to start with a picture. Let me put it up. Of El Niño. This picture is from January of 2016, but we're looking at El Niño, and this is from CNN.
Yeah, you can see the picture, as I was mentioning. You can see North America in the upper right corner.
That's right.
And it looks like Baja California is right in the middle of a
hotspot.
Hotspot, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's El Niño itself down below that.
Yeah. The big red thing that is a patch that runs across the screen is waters that are above normal temperature. These are false colors, of course. And the areas that are below temperature, normal temperature, are in blue.
Kind of bluish, yeah.
And there are a few of them at the top of the screen.
At the very, very bottom.
What do you have for a title for the article, Tom?
Sounding the alarm. The world is on track to breach a critical warming threshold in the next 5 years.
Yeah, the world is now likely to breach a key climate threshold for the first time in the next 5 years due to a combination of greenhouse gas pollution and a looming El Niño, according to the annual climate update of the World Meteorological Organization.
So they know what they're talking about.
Yeah, they do. I actually looked up to find out why meteorology is the study of weather and not meteors.
Why?
Well, the actual word meteor means something falling from the sky, which means rain or snow or sleet.
Or snow or anything falling from the sky.
Yeah, and
necessarily a rock.
the only thing that we don't have really good words for in English are the rocks that fall from outer space. So they are the ones who just kind of took over the name meteor, which had applied to rain and snow and so forth.
Stuff like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We have more on this, Tom, or should we go on?
I think we ought to go on.
Okay.
Got a picture of a Tesla Model Y coming up.
We do. Now, these Teslas, they all look the same to me, and I don't know the difference from one to the next. I do know that there are big differences in price. And
well, if you will notice, there is no grill.
Yeah, I know that. There's not a lot of grills on Teslas.
Tesla Model Y to be the best-selling car in the world in 2030. 2023, and that's a question mark.
Yes, it sure is. This is from Clean Technica. 2023 is not half over, but the Model Y is likely to win the annual sales title. According to Tesla, it was the best-selling passenger vehicle on Earth in the first quarter of the year. Production and sales are expected to grow throughout the year. So it's going to be a tough job for any other car to catch up with the Y. By the way, this is...
this is doing something right.
Yeah, this is the best-selling car in terms of the numbers of cars sold, not the prices, not the value. Now, given the fact that Tesla Model Y is not really super cheap the way some of the Chinese cars are, I would expect that if it's the largest number in car sales, it would also be the largest value. You want to go on, Tom?
Can't dance.
Okay, we have another article from Clean Technica, and do you recognize that picture?
I surely do. I've been there.
Yeah, I've been there too. I've been up on those ramps. What's that?
Been there, done that.
Yeah, right. For anybody who doesn't know, the ramps in the upper part of the picture are the bus ramps that go into the Port Authority bus terminal.
Okay.
I
didn't recognize that, but I'll take your word for it.
Okay.
Well, it's a picture of traffic in New York City.
Yes, indeed it is.
And it's a very normal picture. It happens every day.
Yeah, it happens every day. So what do you have for a title?
First, U.S.
Congestion.
I'm going to sit up so I can read it better. First, U.S. congestion pricing plan gets closer to reality in New York City.
Yeah, New York City traffic is bad. At peak hours of the day, the traffic is at a virtual standstill in many areas, and air quality and traffic noise can be terrible. New York City could soon be the first city in the United States to implement its own traffic tolling system to address the problem.
Well, what that means is if you want to be in New York City at certain times, you're going to have to pay more.
Unless the vehicle that you've got is electric, yes.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, and you know, this reminds me of when I was in school. I was at Columbia for a short period of time, and the news came out. This is what, 1968, something like that.
Something like that.
That somebody had tested the air quality on Wall Street, and it was found that the carbon monoxide level was above industrial safe limits.
That's surprising at all.
Yeah, which meant that if you were going to be there safely, you had to wear some kind of mask. But, second shot, the oxygen content was too low to wear a mask.
Sounds like between a rock and a hard place, huh?
Yeah, and my response to that was, no wonder my grades aren't any good. Actually, I didn't get bad grades at Columbia, but you know, I generally don't like to admit that I got good grades in college or any other school. Okay, we're up to Friday, May 19th. What do you think of that?
It looks like it's Friday to me.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you one thing this doesn't look like. And what it doesn't look like is a picture of the Great Salt Lake.
That's what it's supposed to be.
That's what it is. But there's no water. At least not in this part of the Great Salt Lake. This is from CNN.
The world's largest lakes are shrinking dramatically, and scientists say they have figured out why.
Well, you know, the why part is pretty easy. More than half of the world's largest lakes and reservoirs have lost significant amounts of water over the last 3 decades, according to a new study which pins the blame largely on climate change and excessive water use.
Now, that doesn't surprise me at all.
The thing that surprises me about this is that anybody would bother to make note of the fact that the scientists had figured out why. But, you know, sometimes the obvious is
They
not.
got to do something to justify their existence.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, I can't hold that against the scientists. Things that are intuitively obvious are not always true. You know,
Yeah.
one of my favorite sayings is, Isabella. It was intuitively obvious to Isabella that the world was flat. Yeah. Although scientists at the time, believe it or not, knew that the world was not flat. Columbus knew that it wasn't flat.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway, so we have a picture of a Ford electric van and an article from Clean Technica.
Electric work vans are, quote, almost free, unquote.
This is an interesting article if you want to follow numbers. If you don't like following numbers, you could kind of read it and take the numbers for, you know, on face value. Electric work trucks may not be sexy like a Mercedes EQS or an Audi Q6 e-tron, but with super low operating costs, they can pay for themselves, or nearly so, and that is to say that electric working trucks, which is what anyone in business wants to hear.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And they have other advantages, such as having electric power for operating power tools. Now,
well, we've seen that in some of the articles we've talked about.
Yeah.
You open what used to be the hood, and there's all sorts of stuff in there for contractors to use.
That's right. That is right. And the numbers that are in this article show really that if you have to have a van, the electric van just about pays for itself, and
it makes sense, huh?
Yeah, it makes sense. You're not spending a lot of money on fuel. You spend money on electricity, but it's very cheap to run these things in terms of that part of the running costs, and maintenance is low.
One important thing is they don't idle.
They don't what?
Idle.
They don't idle. That's right. That's very important for people like police cars. You know,
it's a big waste of gas.
It's a big waste of gas, and it's very destructive to engines. So, are we done with that one? Should we go on?
Can't dance.
I knew you were going to say that.
I've seen this picture before.
I've actually been there.
I've been there too.
That's
yeah.
a neat place. I like that building.
What's very interesting is you can walk freely around there anywhere you want to go, and nobody says anything to you.
Yeah, as long as, you know, they're not in session, or, you know, you don't walk into the governor's office while the governor's there, you know, stuff like that.
That's a little common sense, but I mean, it's very interesting. It's a very free location.
It sure is. It's very open, and it's kind of neat. And that dome, by the way, is actually covered with gold, real honest-to-goodness 24-karat gold.
It is, huh?
Yeah, it is.
I used to know who was up there, but I've forgotten to pick the statue.
I don't remember. Okay, this is from Clean Technica.
Vermont legislature pushes for an end to polluting heating equipment.
Yeah, Vermont's boilers, furnaces, kerosene heaters, wood stoves produce 36% of the state's total emissions, according to recent public findings by the Vermont Agency for Natural Resources. The Vermont legislature has passed the Affordable Heat Act, which is S.5, a bill to reduce those emissions. So,
in the right direction.
We've got recognition from Clean Technica, of all places. And we are up to Saturday, the 20th of May.
That's if I can get my computer to scroll. Here we go.
There you go. Okay, and we have an article. We have a picture of.
Well, it's still not scrolling. God damn it. Oh, wait a second. It's off the screen. There we go.
Okay. Don't swear on the air.
There we go. There we go. Saturday, May 20th.
There you go. And we have a picture of
Monhegan Island.
Yes. And we have an article from CNN.
The future of wind energy in the U.S. is floating turbines as tall as 30 Rockefeller Plaza. And 30 Rockefeller Plaza is the name of a very tall building in New York City.
Right. The first full-size floating offshore wind turbine in the United States will tower 850 feet above the waves of the Gulf of Maine.
And it's floating.
It's floating.
Wow.
The 15 megawatt turbine, 15 megawatts is a big turbine, will be 20 miles south of Maine's tiny Monhegan Island, which is why we've got this picture. By the end of the decade, the first of 10 turbines in an array. So this is, one of the things that's interesting about wind turbines is that when they're installed, you can kind of turn them on as they're installed. You don't install them all and then turn the whole thing on.
You can turn one of them on.
You just turn one on, and 15 megawatts is a lot of juice.
For one turbine, yeah.
For one turbine.
Absolutely.
That turbine would be enough to power Brattleboro.
Yep.
Yeah. So, you have more to say on that?
No, just that we're making progress.
We are making progress.
Yep.
Yep.
Moving on, we got a picture of a nodding donkey.
That's correct. It's called an oil well in the caption, but it is a nodding donkey.
I had an opportunity to see a picture of these things with some people standing by. That thing's a lot bigger than I always figured they were. They're about 20, 25 feet in the air.
Yeah, they are. They're not small, although they vary in size a bit. I've seen pictures of some of them that I thought might have been 10 feet tall.
That's what I always figured they were.
Yeah, but that's pretty rare, actually. These things, I looked at the Roscoe Wind Farm, which is a wind farm with 680 wind turbines in it, in Texas. And it's interesting because you can look through the wind farm and see the high school and the convenience stores that are out in the countryside and stuff like that.
So these noise-generating turbines are right next to the school.
Well, right next to, they're a couple hundred yards away, but I mean, everybody in the county basically lives in the middle of a wind farm. I asked them, they seem to like it, but the thing that I was going to say is you can see the wind turbines from satellite images, in satellite images. You can also see these guys, the nodding donkeys.
Uh-huh.
So, and a lot of them are just wrecks, lying on their sides and stuff like that. This is from Clean Technica. What do you have for a title, Tom?
Capping oil and gas wells in Texas could create tens of thousands of jobs.
A study
Let me just mention that historically, people, when they're finished with oil wells, they've just been walking away from them.
Yeah, which is why they're lying on their sides or they're falling apart, pieces lying on the ground.
They got to cap the wells and they're not doing it.
That's right. And the other thing is, a lot of these wells, it's not quite that common, but a lot of the wells that you look at from space, you can actually see that there have been oil spills at the individual wells. So they have little patches of black ground where nothing grows that are maybe 60 or 80 or 100 feet long and not quite that wide. And, there they are.
These guys were interested in taking what was there for themselves and leaving behind.
Absolutely. Absolutely. A study from the University of Texas finds that regulating methane pollution from oil and gas sites in Texas would create up to 35,000 jobs. Texas is the top state for methane pollution, and its Permian Basin is one of the largest oil and gas producing regions in the world, which is why, of course, Texans were always, there were always rich Texans.
Oh, yeah.
There were three things that make Texans rich. Oil and gas was one, cattle was another, and the third was owning patches of land over an acre in downtown Dallas.
I believe it.
Yeah. Anyway, our next item is from Clean Technica.
Well, we got a picture of a F-150 Lightning.
Yeah, well, you have that? So do I. I should put this up so people can see it. There it is. And it looks like it's parked by the side of the road. I can't really tell what's going on there. It looks like there's a lot of snow happening.
I would say the snow is actually happening.
Yeah, this is from Clean Technica. What do you have for title?
Clean cars could yield $95 billion in benefits in Colorado.
That's a lot of money for one state.
It certainly is.
A report finds that the total benefits for Colorado could be as much as $95 billion by 2050 in public health benefits and climate improvements, savings to drivers of zero-emissions vehicles, and utility customer savings under a Colorado Clean Cars program if it is adopted through 2035.
Now that's interesting. This is generating revenue.
It would be generating revenue and saving a lot of money. And by the way, we could generate revenue and save a lot of money in Vermont by doing exactly the same thing.
Yep.
And we're shipping $1 billion. Just think about Vermont and the number of people here. We're talking about, what is it, 640,000 people or something? And we're shipping
that's for sure.
$1 billion a year out of this state to pay for energy, which could be produced in the state, with the benefits coming to the state. But, people don't like wind turbines in their view.
Yeah, and they make a lot of noise.
Tom and I went to what was the place that we went to, Tom? It was
Western Vermont.
Yeah, it was a wind site.
A wind site's been there for a long time.
Right, and Tom had a little cell phone with an app to measure sound, and it was clear that in the parking lot that was, I don't know, 100 yards off the road.
Well, the cars driving by made more noise than the turbines.
Yes. And standing under a turbine, we were talking to a guy, and he was making more noise than a turbine that was operating very near him. So, I don't know.
Well, the people that are against them are looking for any particular reason they can use.
Well, I told you that thing about the Australian Medical Association. I'll say it again. 12 years ago in Australia, there was a big controversy about wind turbines. And finally, we got word that they had figured out what the story was with wind turbine syndrome. And the Australian Medical Association, I was kind of prepared for this because I had been watching one study after another relating to this, and the Australian Medical Association finally put it all together with an official position, which was in 3 parts. One of them was wind turbine syndrome is real. The second is wind turbine syndrome is not caused by wind turbines. And the third thing is wind turbine syndrome was caused by stress that people were feeling as a result of the activities of anti-wind activists.
Bingo.
That's the official position. And I will tell you, as I said, I was watching these papers coming out. They said it isn't this, it isn't because of the geology of the place, it isn't because of weather conditions, it isn't because of, it's not related to makes or models. And it was clear to me that they were going to come up with something that explained.
These investors don't want to have stranded assets.
Yeah, that's what it is. And we're going to be talking about that, by the way. The people who are worried about stranded assets will lie, cheat, steal, and kill. We'll get to that.
We are going to get to that. That startled me.
Yeah, it startled me too. And what we're talking about here is kill as in murder.
Absolutely.
We're up to Sunday, May 21st, and we have an item from...
We got a picture of a basaltic outcrop.
Yeah, let me put that up. People are getting tired of seeing a Ford F-150 flashing on the screen, I'm sure. A basaltic outcrop, and this is from the BBC.
Can enhanced rock weathering help combat climate change?
Well, there's a good question, and the answer apparently is yes. UN scientists are now clear that reducing climate change gas emissions alone won't be enough to stop dangerous levels of warming. That is not good news. We have to go beyond. We have to spend money doing something to draw down carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. It's not enough just to stop putting carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, and we're not stopping. They say there will be some need for some carbon dioxide removal, actively drawing it down from the atmosphere, and enhanced rock weathering could help cool the planet.
Explain what that is.
Okay, what you do is you pulverize the rock, and then the rock reacts with the carbon dioxide, which produces a solid material that is not soluble in water.
So basically, you're enlarging the amount of rock that's available to remove CO2.
Yeah, you take an outcropping like this and you turn it into dust, basically. And when you've got that dust will combine chemically with the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
So what they're in effect saying is a given volume of rock as rock compared to as sand, the sand is much more efficient in removing
Yes, that's correct. Although I think this is not just sand, this is more like dust. But nevertheless, we've talked about carbon removal involving taking the carbon dioxide out of water. Okay, I'm gonna move us on.
Dioxide removal is expensive.
Yes, it is. Carbon dioxide removal from the air is expensive. Okay, we have a picture of pollution.
Looks like pollution to me.
Yeah, it looks like pollution to me too.
You can see smokestacks.
Yep. Clean Technica.
Time to pay the piper. The cost of cleaning up after fossil fuel companies.
Yeah. This is companies that pollute, and then, as you said, they pack up and leave.
They walk away.
They walk away. Marco Grosso and Richard Heed authored a report published by One Earth that quantifies how much each of the top 21 fossil fuel companies in the world should pay to clean up the environmental mess they have made. The total for these 21 companies comes to $209 billion a year.
That's billion with a B.
That's billion with a B, and if they don't pay it, you will.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Somebody's got to pay for it.
Well, you know, somebody's got to do it.
People should pay for it, but they've been getting away scot-free.
They have been. Basically, what they've been doing is dumping their trash into our backyards and telling us that it's our problem.
Yep.
Okay, move on.
Move on.
We have a picture of the port of Cotonou in Benin. Do you know where Benin is?
Yeah, if you looked at a map of Africa, below the Sahara Desert, it gets very narrow.
Yeah.
And along that little horizontal line is a whole bunch of small little countries.
Yep.
And Benin is one of them.
Benin is one of the smaller of those countries, of those small countries. But it happens to have a port that is used a lot. And this item comes from CNN, and you have a title.
As the West surges toward electric cars, here's where the unwanted gas guzzlers go.
Yeah.
Benin.
As wealthy countries, well, Benin is just an example. As wealthy countries set aggressive goals to move consumers toward EVs to cut climate emissions, gasoline-powered cars don't just go away. A stream of used cars is heading to West African ports, well, other places too, and it is only expected to increase with the West shift to EVs. And this highlights something that's very important. I come across articles that talk about social, environmental justice often. And I got news for everybody. If we don't do the social and environmental justice, we're not going to make it, because everybody's got to go for this ride if we're going to be able to survive.
Well, you're absolutely right, but stranded assets are something that puts fear in the hearts of big companies.
Yeah, and the guys who are fearful of losing their stranded assets, which go into a lot of money, don't give a lot of thought to the fact that their actions are impinging on the lives of their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for them. So
let's move along.
Let's do that.
Monday, the 22nd of May.
22nd? Is that correct? It is. By golly. I wouldn't have said that. You did, though. Okay, we have a picture of the Valley Solar Power Station, or Valley, or Val, or something. This is from Yahoo Sport UK. Why Yahoo Sport UK? I don't know.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Spain's renewable energy powered. Oh, I'll say it again.
Okay.
Spain's renewable energy powered the entire country for a 9-hour workday.
Yes. Spain is among a handful of countries that lead the world in the push toward renewable energy. Last week, it reached a new milestone. Energy generated from wind, sun, and water met the needs of mainland Spain. This is the entire country, from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday. And this is according to El Pai.
Well, you've heard me say it on the show before. I'll say it again. In the future, and it isn't going to be too far in the future.
No.
People are going to look back on us and say, can you imagine they used to pay for fuel?
Yeah. Why would you pay for fuel, for crying out loud, when it's free? The sunshine is free. The rain is free. The wind is free. We don't pay for those things. Why would we pay for them? And by the way, the farther we go, the more we get to a point where renewable energy backed up by batteries is a higher quality of energy and more reliable on a day-to-day basis and year-round than energy from fossil fuels and nuclear, and it is...
We're basically there already.
Yeah, and it's a whole lot cheaper. So, let's go on.
It is.
We have... okay.
A picture of a solar array.
We have a picture of a solar array, and this is a Total Energies solar array, and this is from Renews.
Total Energies Spanish PV projects pass EIA test. The EIA is the Environmental Impact Assessment.
Yes, that's right, and that's a little bit. It's an overused combination of letters. It also means Energy Information Administration, which is part of the U.S. DOE. This is not an Energy Information Administration. It is Environmental Impact.
Something different here.
That's right. This is different.
It's confusing, though.
It is confusing. The Spanish Ministry of Energy Transition and Autonomous Communities gave Total Energies a favorable environmental impact assessment for an estimated 3 gigawatts of installed solar PV capacity. The first projects are expected to be on stream in early 2024. Now, I want to point out, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about Spain here. This is the same country that we just said they ran the entire country on renewable energy for a 7-hour workday.
Yep.
So, you know, things...
Well, let me mention a couple of things. First of all, Total Energies is the name of the company, and it's one word.
Yes. That's right.
And I had something else to say. Well, 3 gigawatts. Gigawatts is bigawatts.
3 gigawatts is kind of impressive. Yes, kind of impressive. Okay. Our next...
We're moving in the right direction. fiction. I say we, I mean everybody.
Yeah. Our next item is from Clean Technica, and we have a picture here of the island of Palms, which is a neighborhood in Hawaii. I don't think it's an island. I think it's a neighborhood.
I think you're right.
And it happens to be a neighborhood. Well, read the title and we'll go on from there.
Solar panel, quote, clustering is coming to scores of Army homes in Hawaii.
That's right. Lend-Lease Communities, and that is the name of a company, operates nearly 8,000 homes on Oahu, which tells you this is not on an island called the Island of Palms. This is on an island called Oahu, providing housing for military families through a partnership with the U.S. Army. They are addressing local electric rates of 44 cents per kilowatt hour. That's more than double what we pay in Vermont.
More than double.
That's the going rate. But what they're doing is they're addressing that problem with solar arrays that serve clusters of 4 to 6 homes. So the arrays.
That's the first time I've heard of that. That's a good idea.
Isn't it? This is like what they've done here is they've created a whole bunch of microgrids that are independent of each other, and people share solar arrays that are on their roofs, and the electricity.
My roof might be better than your roof.
That's right. It might be, but you might.
So we build it all on my roof and we share it.
That's right. Yeah. Well, these roofs belong to this company, which is called Lend-Lease Communities. So anyway, our next item is from Clean Technica.
It certainly is.
And we have a picture
of transmission lines.
Transmission lines, that's right.
The great electricity transmission debate. How much is enough?
Yeah, Jigar Shah has an estimate that the United States needs 950 gigawatts of clean energy and 225 gigawatts of storage to clean up its electricity sector.
Wow, that's a lot.
That's a lot, but try this out for size. Over 1,200 gigawatts of clean energy and 650 gigawatts of storage have already been proposed. So we're saying here that where we need 950, 1,200's been proposed. That's the amount of energy. And where we need 225 gigawatts of storage, 650 have been proposed already. So the generating capacity and the storage that we need for the transmission have more than been proposed.
I was going to say it's doable.
Yeah. The problem is, how do you connect this stuff with the capacity grid? How do you connect the capacity grid? I'm sorry, I'm getting this all screwed up. How do you connect the generating capacity to the grid? And actually, there's more to it than that, because the question is, do we really want to connect all of it to the grid in such a way that, for example, good example, they're talking about a huge wind farm in Wyoming supplying electricity to Los Angeles. I
was going to say to more than just Wyoming.
Yeah, and this is the transmission lines that are required there are huge. Wouldn't it be smarter?
It's a new model that we're entering. I mean, the idea of a very few large generating stations is over.
Yes, I agree with you.
Generation.
But you take Vermont as an example. How much energy could we generate in Vermont from solar and wind power put into place in Vermont? And the answer is about 10 times as much more than we need.
And Vermont isn't a particularly hot and dry state.
No, it's not. But we don't. Anyway, let's continue. We've got an item.
Well, this guy Shah, just for the heck of it, Jigar Shah is the director of the Loan Programs Office at the Department of Energy.
Okay.
So he's no little guy. He's an important
He's not
guy.
a slouch. He's been around for quite a while. Okay, we have an item from CNN, and we have a striped tiger butterfly.
Rather beautiful butterfly, isn't it?
It is, and it reminded me so much of the monarch that I actually looked. They are very close.
It looks very much like a monarch, doesn't it?
It does. They are very closely related. They're in the same genus. And by the way, monarch butterflies are all over the world. They're not just in the United States.
Uh-huh.
So, but they are nevertheless.
They're very pretty butterflies.
They're beautiful butterflies. They're the ones we learned about in grade school. But you don't see very many. Not anymore. It used to be in the summer, you know, I could go out and see a monarch butterfly. If I wanted to see a monarch butterfly, I could go out and within an hour or so I'd find one. Today,
You're not seeing too many these days.
no, I see one and I tell people I saw a monarch butterfly. Okay.
Well, the global loss of wildlife is significantly more alarming than previously thought.
Yes. This is from CNN. The global loss of wildlife is significantly more alarming than previously thought, a study shows. Researchers at the School of Biological Sciences at Queen's University Belfast found that 48% of the 70,000 species they studied were seeing rapid population declines.
That's scary. That's almost half.
Yeah, and if things get worse, we could lose that 48%. And you know that they're talking about a sixth extinction in the world. The other ones being natural. This one happened to be driven by
Man-made.
Man-made. Yeah, absolutely. It's very sad. Okay, if you don't mind, I'm going to go on.
I do mind, but I'm going to let you.
If you have something to say, please say it.
No, I'm only kidding.
Oh, okay. All right, we have a data collection buoy from NOAA, that's what that is, and a story from Clean Technica.
Economic damage from El Niño to total $3 trillion.
That's
wow.
more money than I've got. I bet if we put our money together, Tom, you and I couldn't even come close to $3 trillion.
We might be a little bit close.
Yeah, we'd be closer than either one of us by himself. But okay, two researchers at Dartmouth College have published a report in the journal Science, which predicts that the economic impact of the next El Nino weather event, which is expected to start this year, will be $3 trillion through 2029 compared to what the same period would be without such an event.
Wow.
Now, I want to point out, we talk a lot about stranded assets and the prevention that, we're being prevented from working on climate change by people who are worried about stranded assets.
Absolutely.
But $3 trillion in losses is a lot of stranded assets.
That's for sure.
This is getting to a point where, something has to be done about it. Okay, we are up to Wednesday, May 24th.
That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, and we have a
There's
picture.
There's a wonderful picture of a power outage.
Yes, that's right. And this power outage happens to be at an airport. What you're seeing there is emergency lights and things that say, we don't know about schedules because the electricity's out and things like that. This is an article.
We're having power outages right here in Brattleboro fairly frequently. We had
do.
one yesterday that lasted a couple hours.
Yeah, we had two, actually.
Did we?
Yeah, we had two. And yeah. Anyway, this is from the BBC.
South Africa load shedding. The roots of Eskom's power problems.
Right.
That needs a little bit of explanation.
Well, Eskom is the name of the utility, and I forget what that stands for, and I don't have it in front of me. I don't think it's actually used, spelled out anymore. I think they've actually just turned it into Eskom.
I think you're right.
South Africa is heading into winter with a prospect of power cuts lasting up to 16 hours a day.
That's significant.
It is. The roots of the problem lie in poor management, corruption, sabotage, and gangs willing to kill anyone who threatened to clean up the coal industry or move toward renewable energy.
That's really scary.
Isn't it? And this article goes into people being poisoned, things like that. This is not nice. And, you know, this is what these people who...
Gangs willing to kill anyone. That's very scary.
Yeah, this is people who don't want those assets to be stranded. Now,
they're getting paid.
Yeah, they are getting paid. And they're making life miserable for not only everybody around them, but themselves too. This is so short-sighted, they don't see that they want electricity more than 8 hours a day. Well, one way to do that is to stop trying to murder people. But you know, the fact of the matter is that if you look at the net effect of the fossil fuels industry and its actions, people are dying because of this. People are dying because
Absolutely.
They are preventing us from working on getting climate change addressed. And this is something
some people are profiting.
What's that?
Some people are profiting.
Yeah, and this is something that, you know, and unfortunately, we've got political people who believe in, you know, a so-called free market, in which the free market is actually a tank in which the largest shark eats everything else.
Yeah, you're right.
It's not free. It's, you
It's
know.
not free. It's only free to some.
And you know, we have some weird things going on in American politics today, things that I have never imagined possible. And I really believe, if you look at what's going on, a lot of this is happening, I think, and here I'm going into a conspiracy theory, but I think much of it might be happening because of the fear that some wealthy organizations and individuals have of losing stranded assets. And in particular...
What about money?
Yeah. In particular, I think the reason why there's a war in Ukraine is because Vladimir Putin saw that 65% or 66% of his foreign trade was based on the sale of fossil fuels. And the Europeans had basically told him that they were going to reduce their use of fossil fuels as quickly as they possibly could, to the point where they wouldn't be using any at all, basically. And that could happen if Putin lived to be old enough during Putin's lifetime. And he didn't want to see that happen. So what did he do? He did something that would be as chaotic or productive of chaos as possible, which was to start a war.
I was going to say, basically, he started a war.
Yeah. And everything, you know, this is like, it is enough to make you believe that there is such a thing as a curse, because everything Putin has done seems to be cursed. Have you been following the war, Tom?
Not really. Not really.
I've been following it, and it just looks like, as I said, everything Putin does is cursed. You know, he
Not the brightest star in the heavens.
What's that?
He's not the brightest star in the heavens.
Putin is a bully. I think that's almost undeniable. And his military strategy is based on bullying and arrogance, which is not a good combination for strategy in the military. It's just not good. It's going to lose unless you're exercising your military strength against a tiny neighbor like Chechnya. And with Chechnya, they could only do it when they went in and really tried to make things as miserable as they could possibly make them for the people of that area. And when the Ukrainians stood up to them, they were up against something that Putin had never imagined possible. He didn't think that it was possible for the Ukrainians to stand up against Russia.
Yeah.
And he's lost half of the serviceable tanks that the Russians had.
Has he really?
Half of them.
Wow.
Which means not only does he have to supply tanks to fight in Ukraine, but he has to take them away from borders like the border for NATO, and he can't manufacture tanks fast enough, so they're actually taking tanks that were built at the end of the Second World War and putting them into service.
He's on the losing end of the struggle, I'm afraid.
He's in serious trouble. He's in really serious trouble. Okay, we should move on and talk about energy, don't you think?
Yeah, I think we should. There's a picture of Tamil Nadu in the morning.
Tamil Nadu, which...
And for what it's worth, Tamil Nadu is the name of an Indian state.
Yes.
It's the southernmost state in India.
Yes.
It's 10th largest Indian state by area and the 6th largest by population. So it's an important place.
This is where, what is the city? It used to be called Madras. It's got a different name now.
Yeah, I don't know the name of it.
I don't remember the name. Anyway, this is from CNN.
Global temperature rise could see billions live in places where human life doesn't flourish.
Yeah.
That's like northern Canada.
That's like what?
Northern Canada.
Well, yeah. Human life is not going to be flourishing in much of India, is what they're saying, unfortunately. And there's a lot of people in India. If the current pace of global warming goes unchecked, it will push billions of people outside the, quote, climate niche, end quote.
Yeah, so that's India.
Yeah, where the temperatures which are the temperature areas where human beings can flourish. And this is according to a study published in the journal Nature Sustainability.
So people from places like India are going to have to move.
Or suffer, you know.
Or suffer,
Or
yeah.
suffer. And it's not just India. What do you do with Mexico? What do you do with the southwestern United States? And by the way, with the oceans rising, what do you do with Florida? I got news for you. Land in Vermont is going to become very expensive.
Land in Florida is going to disappear.
Yeah, and you know we've reported. It was a couple of years ago. I don't remember exactly when, but that. There was an area called Little Haiti, which is in Miami, where the prices of rentals and properties were just shooting up because people who lived along the coast in those big high-rise condominiums were moving out of them because they felt threatened by the ocean. And Little Haiti was 8 feet higher. Well, I got news for you. Little Haiti ain't going to be there. Not in. It'll be there, I'm sure, through my whole life, but.
Well, much of Florida is going to disappear. It's just too low and too exposed.
I don't see how I don't see how New York City can survive, to tell you the truth.
I think much of New York City is going to take it too.
Right, and I will tell you, the St. George Hotel, or whatever hotel replaced it on Brooklyn Heights, I think will probably still be there 100 years from now. But the view that it has is not going to be so pleasant because it looks across from Brooklyn, where it is, onto Manhattan, and those buildings in southern Manhattan, I think, are just going to be in trouble.
They're going. They're all at sea level.
I agree with you. However, we have hope, and the hope is in our next picture. And an article from Clean Technica.
Oh, our next picture, there it is.
Yeah,
It's a Prieto battery.
that's right.
Doesn't look like a battery to me, does it?
No, it looks more like one of those packs that they put
Aspirins in.
food or something to drink, you know, where you flip it over and you find there's a little thing on the back that you can stick a straw into. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't look like a battery, but it is. What do you ever...
Prieto introduces a battery that charges in 3 minutes.
Can you believe this? Prieto, a startup based in Fort Collins, Colorado, we're back to Colorado, has unveiled a prototype of a battery it says works in a range of 30 degrees, I'm 30 degrees below zero Fahrenheit to above 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is, and what is even more exciting about the Prieto battery is that its 3D batteries can be fully charged from 0% to 100% charge in just 3 minutes. And,
That's amazing.
yeah, this is astonishing, and they are non-flammable.
That's also important.
I looked to find out what their technology is. I couldn't find it.
Uh-huh. They're keeping it quiet, huh?
Well, I don't know. You know, there's places where I could find. There was one article that came up for Green Energy Times, and there was a question about whether the people who were in the article were legitimate. It wasn't Prieto, but I thought, okay, they're making some pretty wild claims. I'm going to find out what I can, and I found that they had 12 patents that had been granted and 12 more applied for. And that represents a fair amount of money going into patents. So
Well, batteries are starting to become very important.
batteries, you can say that again, Tom, if you want. I won't mind.
Well, when I was in college in 4 years, we spent, and I'm joking here, 47 minutes discussing batteries.
Yes, I know. And
We sure as hell didn't spend a lot of time about batteries.
yeah,
Now,
when
they
I-
were the batteries in your flashlight, they were the batteries in the car, and oh yeah, the telephone company used batteries too, and that's it.
yeah, basically. And you know, there were other batteries, but they were curiosities. And now they are a big deal. So, we're at the end of the show, Tom,
I think so.
and we're going to tell everybody to have a satisfactorily superb week.
We are, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
That's
it's actually superb.
satisfactorily superb.
And I will say, and I quote, you all come back and see us now, you hear?
I'm waving goodbye. Tom is waving goodbye. Tom's
And the cat isn't here.
Tom's cat ran off with his slippers. What can I say?